So you want to eat a little healthier after the holidays. It's a bit of an acquired taste, especially if you eat it raw. And my wife absolutely hates it. But I know it's probably good for us. One of the things I used to do was just throw the entire bag inside the fridge. But I like to think I know a little bit better by now. One of my biggest guffs for this rabbit food is that it doesn't store well in the fridge. Well, not in its bag anyway. See, the problem with celery is that when you keep it in its bag, it traps the ethylene gas that it emits, which then speeds up the ripening process of the celery. Some people recommend wrapping it tightly with aluminum foil, but I find that it still tends to go a little bit limp. So I actually prefer submerging them in cold water in a tightly sealed container. This way, I don't have to worry about storing them away from other ethylene-producing items like apples, avocados, pears, peaches, and plums, tomatoes, if they're separated in jars. Plus, I'm more likely to grab it as a snack or as a teether, given that it's already prepared, whenever I open the fridge. Contrary to popular belief, celery is not a 0 or negative calorie food. Yes, it's mostly water, but in itself, celery is about 15 kilocalories per 100 grams. And there is oddly some scant information about energy expenditure in chewing, where you only burn about 11 kilocalories per hour. So unless you're sitting there chewing a stick of celery at a frequency of precisely 100 hertz with the aid of a metronome, you're not in any caloric deficit. So aside from using celery as a teething agent because it's cold and crisp, I noticed that sometimes the inside of my mouth and my tongue gets a little numb. So I then looked into why celery might be a little bit more beneficial than, say, a plastic soother. So it turns out celery contains a chemical called eugenol, the active ingredient in clove oil, and it's been used to treat toothaches for ages. It's a natural antiseptic and is used in Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine that helps to numb the area to provide temporary relief. Eugenol can be found in other things like nutmeg, cinnamon, basil, and thyme. It was these natural anesthetic compounds like eugenol and thymol that were found to affect GABA A receptors in the central nervous system that eventually led to the development of the widely used propofol, which we use for sedation in the hospital, and how Michael Jackson, the king of pop, offed himself. Eugenol can also be combined with zinc oxide to be used for restorative and prosthodontic applications in dentistry. Eugenol has also been touted as being beneficial for preventing cancer, to manage blood pressure, and maybe even help with memory and cognition for Alzheimer's, but there isn't enough evidence to support the use in these settings. So then there's the question of whether this is considered safe for your kids. The WHO, World Health Organization, had reviewed eugenol for its safety as a food additive, mostly for flavoring, and has deemed it to be considered safe, provided that consumption is within 2.5 milligrams per kilogram by weight, however much that is. For me, we're not using eugenol in its concentrated form like we find in commercially available clove oil, and I'm not giving them a whole stalk of celery at a given time. So it gives them something to chew on that's not plastic and they could also eat, provided that they don't choke on it. They get some vitamins, water, and some fiber, which is probably not a bad thing. Let me know in the comments below whether you give your kids celery or clove oil as a teething agent, or how you like to eat celery. For me, I like to have my celery by itself, on the side of some buffalo wings, or maybe with just a little bit of peanut butter. I know some people juice it to start their bowels for the day, but it supposedly really makes them go. But that might be a little TMI. What do you want to do?
Eat.
You want to eat? Okay. You want to take one? Oh, don't spit it back in. Eat.
That's it. Eat.
Okay, Daddy will eat. You want to bite? Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one. What's this?
Fruit.
Food?
Fruit.
Is this celery? Can you say celery?
Celery.
Okay. Are you going to eat this?
No.
What is this?
Celery.
Celery. Celery. Okay, let's try that one more time. What's this?
Positive.
You going to feed the camera?